right. Hi, and welcome to Beyond Big Social. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first Beyond Big Social event. I'm your organizer and moderator, Erica Harvell, founder and CEO of Nodat Inc. Nodat is an ephemeral mobile marketing platform specifically designed to help small and local businesses drive new and repeat customers using time-sensitive and disappearing mobile coupons and a universal point system that not only helps your customers promote you on social media, but it keeps them coming back and creates an army of nano influencers sharing the love. This evening, we're going to be talking about tools small businesses can use to develop a successful strategy for 2021 and beyond. The marketing world has changed a lot, especially in the last few years, and even more so in 2020. And so we're going to take everything that we've learned this last year and pass that on to you so that you can keep your businesses moving forward. We're especially going to focus on some of the available tools that you can use that goes beyond big social media platforms that you already know about. We're going to be talking about how to use smart ads to take Google AdWords to the next level. We'll be discussing the difference between digital and mobile strategies. And we'll have a look into ways to help you save on your marketing spend using data analytics and creating the right strategy, which is definitely your most important priority right now. We're also going to be discussing service-based marketing with SEO and SEM and how Facebook's algorithm is constantly changing and what you can do about it in the coming year. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our program and introduce some of the amazing speakers that we have on our panelists today. Which are some of the brightest minds in marketing and in business today. Our first session is going to be fast-paced. It's going to be packed with information. So get out your pens and your paper and be ready to ask questions, be ready to engage. Our first speaker is with Chaput, our first speaker is actually Jenn McMillen. Jenn is the founder and CEO of Incendio. And she's a nationally known customer relationship specialist. She's known for growing and developing GameStop's loyalty program and growing that to 35 million subscribers. But we'll get a little bit more into Jenn's bio. I wanted to let you know that during every main stage event, you have the option of attending a breakout session. Our first breakout session is going to be with Ashley Garth, who is with the founder and CEO of Garth Media. And she's going to be talking to you about how to increase your social media engagement and how to get that true follower engagement so that you turn those followers into buyers and you're not just posting just to be posting on social media. So there's 20 spots open for that breakout session. So if that's something that you want to get involved in and learn more about, hop on over to the breakout sessions tab on your left. Just click sessions and hop on over to that stage. And I'm going to bring up our first speaker, Ms. Jenn McMillen, and I'm going to give her a proper introduction.
Hi there.
Hi, Jenn. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing great, doing great. So I'm going to, if you would mute yourself just for a second, I'm going to give you your proper introduction. And then I'll turn my camera off and give you the full stage. So first up, we have Ms. Jenn McMillen, who's going to give us a keynote today. As I mentioned, Jenn is nationally known loyalty and CRM expert. She's the founder and CEO of Incendio, which is a loyalty and CRM consulting firm. She specializes in marketing strategy and building and fixing data-driven loyalty and customer loyalty programs. Jenn will give a presentation on creating a customer loyalty strategy for your small business. In it, you'll learn the same loyalty marketing strategies that she used to grow GameStop's loyalty program to 35 million subscribers. customers. Among other accomplishments, Jenn was also VP of Customer Loyalty for Blockbuster, and she designed and grew the very first national subscription program in the 90s, which was Blockbuster Rewards. She has also designed and grew loyalty programs for Payless and United Airlines, Silver Wings Plus. And so we are so excited to have an expert in our midst today, and we get to pick her brain. So get your pens and your papers out and get ready to learn how to build an effective customer loyalty program. And let's bring Miss Jenn McMillen to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we want to make sure that you don't, do you have another tab open in your, so that it's not echoing?
All right, let's try it now.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect. Hey there. My name is Jenn McMillen. Thank you for the very nice introduction. And as she mentioned, I've been in the space for a very long time. And so like she said, Blockbuster Rewards was a program that I built in my late 20s, and I'm turning the corner on 50 pretty soon. So I've been doing this for quite some time. And so I'm excited to share my knowledge with you tonight. I have some slides to take you through, and what we're going to talk about today is all about strategies to increase customer loyalty and retention. So before I start, don't be daunted, right? Because even though I've come out of big companies, we started small and we grew. And so I'm going to share a lot of the tactics that we use for our big corporate clients, as well as things that we have done for ourselves to grow. So with that, I'm going to share my slides. And I'm going to assume that everybody can see what's on screen. And if not, I will get a ping, I'm sure, in the next moment. So let's talk about what's on deck tonight. So we're going to talk about what is CRM exactly. It's an acronym. A lot of people think it means different things. We're going to talk about your channels, your customer engagement strategy, prospecting, onboarding, and then a lot about targeted marketing. So CRM, right? What does it actually mean? So I love this visual because at its core, it's just really data collection, right? So I say it's the cake, right? You can, everything else is the frosting, but the cake is the data that's going to fuel your CRM engine. And already, if you're having a moment where you're thinking, okay, too complex, right? It's not that complex when you really think about it, right? Think about CRM as a toolbox, okay? And then everything that you want to do in terms of your customer marketing is going to come out of your toolbox, right? So an email campaign, a trigger campaign, an SMS campaign, loyalty programs, anything like that, that is what's going to come out of your toolbox. And like I said, it doesn't have to be complex. So, in my world, like especially when I was at GameStop and building their program, it did get complex, right? But the things that we were able to do with the data, again, big company, big resources, right? But we eventually got to the point where we had so much data on our customers that we were actually able to use it outside of marketing and use our customer data to make a lot more big decisions for the company, such as where to place stores, right? Because we knew from our customer base where everybody was across the country, and we knew a lot about them, right? What they like to buy, how often they bought, because we had a magazine as part of our program. If you were receiving a magazine, we knew your mailing address, things like that. And so not only could we make real estate decisions, we could also merchandise the stores appropriately. And so, for instance, if you know anything about video gaming, there's 3 big platforms out there. There's Nintendo, there's PlayStation, there's Xbox. And, if you have a store that skews predominantly maybe young families, that's probably going to be a Nintendo store, right? It skews, teenagers and older, that's probably going to be an Xbox and a PlayStation store. So we could make assortment decisions, again, based on the type of customer who is shopping us, because we were, gathering all this data. And we eventually used it, like I said, for acquisitions, for R&D, all that kind of stuff. But again, like I'm saying, it does not have to be complex. So this is the starter version, right, of how to start a CRM strategy. So the first thing to do, right, is start with the customer's last transaction. And it is, hey, we know that you bought X and we thought you might like Y too. So again, something very easy to do. Or, send a note on the customer's birthday. Send a thank you note post-purchase. Hey, we just want to thank you for being a customer. And again, if all you did was this, right? This is a CRM strategy, and that is perfectly okay. And so when it comes to starting out, you may be thinking, I don't have a data collection mechanism, anything like that. Well, I will tell you, before the land of Excel spreadsheets or pivot tables or anything like that, there were a lot of shopkeepers that used to keep customer records on index cards. And so if you think about it in terms of what a shopkeeper used to be able to do, right, with just an index card file, don't be daunted, right? Because again, you can actually start a pretty good database, right, with just an Excel spreadsheet, right? Excel handles a lot of rows, a lot of data. So you can just start with that. So if you're thinking database, I don't have money in my budget for a database, again, do not be daunted. So how do you go about collecting data, right? So let's talk about channels. And I'm going to say you have more than you think you do. And I know the audience tonight really spans a lot of different types of businesses, but some things as you look around your environment, things that you might be able to tap into, right? Do you have a pin pad where you could message on that one, right? Do you print out receipts for your customers? Because you can do receipt messaging on that type of stuff. Certainly your store signage, right? Think about, if you're a restaurant, is it, what's on the table or in a table tent? If you are a business, with, with a front door, right? What's on your front door, those type of things. And, certainly if you have a staff where you are taking payments and cashier facing messaging, right? Scripting for them, like what are the types of things that you want them to say? Certainly in-store announcements, whether that's, overhead in a PA system or, whether again, it's just, something hanging on the door. Don't be daunted, right? Because you have more channels than you think you have. And then when it comes to your marketing channels, right? I mean, text, website, email, social, app, right? You have lots of avenues to be able to communicate. So let's talk about customer engagement strategy, right? Big term, right? But how do we break it down into its component parts? So think about targeted marketing, right? That's what we're talking about tonight is targeted marketing because you want that right message, right time, right channel. The other things, right, that are probably very popular, loyalty programs, and they are getting very, very easy to do. Especially the POS companies are incredibly good about building those into their software these days. And you can have a very rudimentary, very easy loyalty program to start, and that gives a customer a reason to identify at every transaction. So again, easy way to collect data. And then engagement tactics, right? That's the stuff that drives interest. And these are probably the things that you're already doing already, right? So contests or, sub clubs or partnerships or gamification, any promotions that you're doing, right? Whether enrollment is required. So for instance, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience participate in Starbucks, their rewards program. And if you've ever opted into a Star Dash, you have just done an enrollment required promotion or available to everyone, right? Whoever walks through the door, it's 20% off today. So again, so targeted marketing is really where we're going to camp out today and talk about that. So the next big topic is going to be prospecting and data collection. And so the big thing that you need to do, right, is people these days are used to signing up for programs. But the one thing that you want to do is give them an enticement to do so. And so your goal, right, is to collect actionable information that you can use for marketing. And so think about, what are your 3 golden questions? And so a golden question is something that is going to give you a way to get started, right? And I'll show you some examples as we get into the presentation. But, some golden questions could be, for instance, what is your favorite product, right? Or where do you live? So you understand, like from a zip code perspective, like who's around your store. And so golden questions could be almost anything, right? So again, each business is different. So it's not like there is a standard set, but again, what would give you the most information to get started? And then offer an enticement for sign up because, again, it is in people's self-interest to sign up for something that gives them a reason to do it, right? What's the quid pro quo? So when it comes to enrollment offers and best practices, so, again, offers should be rich to gain as much information as possible quickly because, right, you want to offer something in exchange for information because in theory, information is not free. Offers should have end dates, and that is to drive action. And so it's something like, sign up this week, sign up by the end of this week or sign up today, limited time offer, that type of thing. And then offers should not be extended more than once to avoid trust erosion. So if anybody here has ever been a cable company customer and, those wonderful offers keep getting extended and extended and extended, and then they give them to people who are brand new and you've been a customer forever, and it's a little bit angering on that one. But again, don't extend more than once, because once you make that one offer, if you offer it again and again and again, people are going to see through that ruse pretty quickly and understand that there's no urgency for signing up. So the next thing, right, is think about your own frontline staff. And that is the first place to start. So think about setting collection goals for your business. And whether or not you have store managers or whether you are the store manager, think about what you want to collect and why you want to do it, right? So this assumes that you've got a venue set up, right? You're either going to text in to do it or sign up for our email program, something like that. But you need to then, as a secondary point, develop key message scripts and train your staff to do it. So it's got to be believable, right? It's got to be natural, and because people won't say things, right, when it's clear that they are being scripted. And all of us, right, have called into a call center before, or been in a situation where you can clearly tell that someone is reading back a script to you, and you can tell, right, and it feels inauthentic. So, some sample scripting on that one would be things like, hey, are you on our email list? We send out our best deals to our VIP list if you're interested. Or have you signed up for our free rewards program? You earn points towards free stuff. Free stuff turns into rewards, and you also get lots of coupons. So again, each business is going to be different, but you want to figure out what is the right approach for you. So an easy way to do that too, right, is contests, right, even among your own staff. And so you can make your competition fun. You can change goals up by quarter. You can run multiple contests at different levels, potential rewards, etc. And again, if you wanted to extend it out to like new signups, right, it would be like, hey, anybody who signs up, for our email list or our text list, in the next 30 days is randomly entered to win a randomly drawn gift card to our business, something like that. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it, but again, you kind of got to keep it fun, because this is if this is a new effort for you, then this is something that is just being added on to someone else's workload. So again, my advice there is keep it fun. And then think about, again, how you put messaging and signage throughout your business. And so, here's, a couple examples that I liked, about just like, some text campaigns about joining our VIP list. I like the colloquialism of the let's be email pals, right? And you get a discount by doing it. And then I also like this bottom one here, gain exclusive access to our members only shop. So again, people like access, people like thinking that they're being treated specially. And that is the reason to do it. Right? Because even if you only send out, one communication, once a month, just, make it special, make it members only, and, something different from what you're offering, in your storefront on a regular basis. So here's where we really get into it, right, is let's talk about onboarding and some more data collection, right? And so the big onboarding goal that you want to accomplish, right, and it's activation, right? And this is where you want to welcome your new signups, you want to reinforce that decision to join, and you want to ask for some data, right? So that's the reason for doing it. And this is where your 3 golden questions come into it. And so, I've put a couple examples in the presentation of a couple things that I've seen that I think are really good in terms of best practice. And so one thing that you want to think about, right, as we kind of move through this, is asking customers to fill out a profile about themselves. And again, this is where your 3 golden questions come into play. And then you can start to build on that as you develop more of a relationship with customer. And as you ask for continually more information, the jargony way to talk about it is by calling it drip irrigation. And so drip irrigation, right, is taking the opportunity whenever you can to ask one more question. Right. And, is it, what is your birthday? How far do you live from the store? When's the last time you shopped? Hey, are you in the market for, printing banners, anything like that. So again, think about what you're trying to accomplish for your business. And then what you want to talk about, right, when you actually send out this first welcome message, right? Thank you for signing up. Complete your profile. Hey, and again, 3 golden questions. Here's where it's coming in, right? And so the reason being, right, so we can send you the things that you're interested in. And that means because everybody wants to be marketed to in a way that is relevant and personal to them. And that is what consumers have come to expect, right, is the quid pro quo. I will give you information about myself, but then in return, you have to send me marketing that is relevant to me. right? So, for instance, I don't have children, and I frankly don't want to get anything about children. But I'm also not a senior citizen, so I don't want to get anything about being a senior citizen. So, so again, just, know your audience and know what their interests are, and you ask, and, by asking, make sure that you're honoring that social contract, basically. And then the other thing you want to do in your welcome email, right, is list the benefits for signing up. And whether that's going to be that you're going to receive exclusive coupons or discounts or member only shopping days, or, whatever it is that you're offering, but you have to give them a reason to not unsubscribe. So, I mean, as you have your new captive audience here, make sure that, there's some care and love there, because you want to make sure that you're not going to spam them, which again, we've all signed up for email lists and just gotten absolutely bombarded, and you don't want to be that guy. So again, just, kind of set the ground rules in the beginning. So I've put an example in here that I thought was really good. And so I have taken up snowboarding as a 49-year-old woman. And so I had to actually find a retailer, right, that would sell me some snowboarding equipment. And so this is a retailer that I visited in Dallas. And I thought that their series was actually really good, because you get the welcome, right? As you get deeper into the email, again, it lays out those ground rules, right? What they're all about, what I get as a member, etc. And you also see at the top, enjoy this coupon for $10 off a purchase of 50 or more. So that was my hook, right? Sign up for $10 off a $50 purchase. And then 48 hours later, I got a tell us all about you, right? So here's where they're asking me to personalize and customize. And, for me, do I fish? No. Do I ski? No. Do I hike? Yes. So, I can tell you a little bit more about my personal interests. And then the other one was let's connect on social media. And again, social media is not going anywhere, but it is not the end all be all. It's not the panacea. And then after I got through this onboarding series was then when I started receiving the regular promotional emails. And that was okay, right? But I thought this was very good and really well spaced out, because 48 hours in between each one of them still kept up my interest, but it didn't feel intrusive. So here is where I want to bring your attention to 7-Eleven and their profile completion. And when I talk about the 3 golden questions on this one, right, you can infer here, right, what is important to 7-Eleven. And so, for instance, fuel grade. Okay, so that's going to help them put you into a category of whether you're driving a luxury vehicle, which is going to require a 93 gas or not, right? Age verification, because 7-Eleven certainly wants to know if they can send you emails or communications about beer, right? Beer, wine, cigarettes. And then the other one here is this with the favorites are faster, choose your preferred store, right? So their 3 golden questions appear to be what fuel grade, how old are you, and what's your favorite store, right? And for them, that gives them enough information to start marketing to you on a pretty successful basis. So let's talk about the big stuff here, right? Let's talk about targeted marketing and lifecycle communications, right? So first of all, what are they, right? And why are we talking about them? And these are trigger-based communications that are in the form of personalized messages that auto issue, right? Once you have them set up and you set the date, you set what triggers, and these are very easy to set up in MailChimp and Constant Contact. So I chose 2 of the most likely platforms, especially for small businesses. And we use at Incendio, we use MailChimp ourselves, so we're pretty familiar with it. And so what I'm going to suggest to you are a couple triggers that you may want to set up. And why triggers are great, right, is that they are set and forget. And so once you have them set up, they trigger out automatically based on the parameters that you have already set. So here's a couple examples of things that you might want to consider. So some suggested triggers, right, is if you haven't set up like a first 30 days, right? After you've gotten through the welcome and the onboarding series, and your basic communications are already done, right? So those are already set up. So first 30 days, right? This is the drive attachment, right? It's the whole, hey, we are now a tribe. Welcome to the club. You're one of us now, and here's how we want you. Here's our enticements to get you to come back, etc. And so reap the benefits by participating, right? So that's a first 30 day. Then think about first 60 days, right? You want to, again, especially if you haven't seen a customer since they signed up, you want something to drive them in to visit. Okay, so here's a little something for you, right? Just a little bit of an enticement, something. On the first 6 months, here's where you want to reinforce your value equation. And so, for instance, what's your value equation, right? It could be, right, that you have a loyalty program, that you earn points for purchase, right? That your program is free, that we send you a birthday treat. So it could be, multiple reasons. But again, you've got to articulate what your value proposition is so that you can communicate that out. And again, just put it in front of customers so that, you're basically reinforcing, your own marketing. The other things are birthday, right? Recognize a person's special day, and pretty common, right, to send a gift. Anniversary, and so anniversary, of course, it is 365 days from the day that they signed up with your program for your marketing. And then with lapsed and win back, that is someone you haven't seen and you want to get them back in the fold. And this is a comeback, we miss you. So I want to take you through a couple examples. But first, right, the one thing I'm just going to caution you about is MailChimp, Constant Contact. They have some really nice templates in there. And certainly, we looked at all of them when we had to do a really quick communication to get out. It ended up just basically sending a blank because you want to put all of your communications in a standard template so that they are very identifiable. And why you want to do that, right, is because you want your communications to get opened. And if you keep switching up your templates and you are using a different one every time you go out, it's going to be hard to associate that email with you, right? And again, I'm kind of using email because it's easier to do examples, right? And like I said, it's tempting to switch it up every time, but a little known fact is that it takes a consumer 11 viewings to absorb a message. And again, this is not Jenn talking. This is actual data. 11 times a consumer needs to see a message before it sinks in. And so after the 11th time, you are probably very bored, with your message. But like I said, it is just at that point where the consumer is really starting to absorb it. So let's talk about some examples here. So first 30 days, like I mentioned, this is, again, choice privileges. It's a hotel program. And this is where I signed up for their program. And they gave me the option to customize basically my reward structure. And so, which is really nice, right? Because consumers love choice. And so for me, as a consumer here, I can get a Starbucks coffee card. I can get a discount off an Uber, right? And you're probably staying in a hotel if you're traveling. So all of these rewards seem to make sense. Rothy's is a shoe and apparel company, and for them it was, now that you're in the club, right, here's something exclusive for just you, right, for just our members to be able to buy this style, and only that you can. And then on this one, on the American Eagle, I threw that in there because I'm nostalgic for concerts, and I can't wait to get out, and be in public again. But this one, it's all about access and exclusivity. And so, hey, by the way, Phil's profile, but in your world, right, is access and exclusivity perhaps a special shopping hour, right? Or an extended shopping hour, or an extended return policy, or something where, if you're a restaurant, then you have a secret menu item, right? Again, people love access and exclusivity. And this is where, again, you can really kind of blow that out. So the next one, for 60 days, right, this is where we haven't seen you engage. And this is where it gets a little worrisome, right, where you had someone raise their hand to join your marketing program, but you haven't seen them come back. And so this one, right, this is the honeymoon phase of any consumer program. And so they've downloaded your app, or they've signed up, and they've received a couple emails or texts from you. And right now, it is critical to lock in the desired behaviors that you want. And so for this one, right, this one on the left, this is Chipotle, which is one of our clients. And this one, right, this is free guacamole. Okay. If you have any, gauge on food costs, guacamole is a dip item. They make up huge batches of this one. It does not really cost them a lot to give away a free guacamole, but it feels like an upgrade. It feels rich. And again, think about for your business, what would make sense for you on that one. So with Uber Eats, right, here's a $10 off offer. So you have a dollar offer here. The next one is a percentage off offer. And I'm just going to give you marketing advice. Consumers more frequently respond to dollars off offers as opposed to percentage offers, because even though that 20% could mean 50 or 60 bucks, right? $10 is very tangible to consumers. So here's an example of first 6 months. Okay, so Rakuten, for instance, this is a cashback program when you shop at certain retailers. This was my progress to date, right? So that's not bad, right? That's a lot of shopping. But the other ones right here, right, wherever possible, show customers what they saved or exclusives just for them. And these were emails that I really did send out at GameStop. And these were, here's the things that you can get with your points, right, that other people can't access because they don't have enough points. And the other one, right, was it's been 6 months since you joined, and here's how much you saved. So again, you are seeing me in this instance reinforce that value proposition. So birthday, okay, so gave a couple birthday examples on this one because Barnes & Noble, right, give us your birthday in exchange for a treat. So here you see Barnes & Noble doing a lot of drip irrigation on this one. Which is I never gave my birthday when I signed up for the program, right? I handed over my credit card, paid the $25 fee, walked away with a discount that day. Half birthday, again, very few companies do half birthday. And so this one would actually make you stand out a little bit because they're so few and far between. And Blaze Pizza and Baskin Robbins are the only two ones that I know of that do half birthday. So if there are more out there, I'd love to know. And then the other one, birthday treat, right? Happy birthday and cake. Can't go wrong with free cake. I mean, that's like the best birthday present ever. So here's some anniversary examples for you. And again, this is the show appreciation. And so Shop Your Way is Sears, Kmart, Land's End, their loyalty program. And what I thought was interesting here was they've taken me through my year, but they're also showing me the things that I haven't tapped into, right? So I took advantage of 2 of 10 member benefits, but there's 8 that I didn't. So again, a re-education, a fear of missing out type of thing, perhaps, but I thought it was a well-executed email. Middle one here, Starbucks, right? You will notice that this is my anniversary email, 10 years as a member of their program, but you notice that there is not an offer in there. And so you would think that there might be, but apparently I guess they think that I shop there enough that I don't need anything free. And then free pancakes from IHOP, right? Again, people love free things. So the last example here is on lapsed and win back. So it is a good practice to acknowledge to your customers that you haven't seen them, and you got to let them know there's a reason to engage. So again, you figure out what your "we miss you" offer is, and whether it is a personalized recommendation, whether it is a discount, whether it's $5 to spend in store. Again, you kind of need to make that decision for yourself. And so your checklist, as I want to leave you with something, is start collecting actionable information that you can use for marketing. And again, like I said, it does not have to be complex. It can be very, very basic. And, if your 3 golden questions are one question, that's okay too, right? But, in the beginning, when you've got someone signing up, especially if you're doing it right there at POS, or in store, and it's in a more immediate type of thing where someone could be standing behind a customer and you're asking them to join and give information, you just have to be judicious, and understand what people's tolerance are. And that's why, follow-up communications are a wonderful thing. Okay. So the other thing is, again, give customers a way to create a profile on your website if you can do it. And by asking someone to volunteer information about themselves, this is where you can collect a bunch of information. And, people are pretty good about it these days, right? Unless you have a very older consumer who's a little bit more wary. But I think we've all grown up, giving data, and it's now become, pretty standard fare. So again, the 3 golden questions. Okay. So it's up to you, right? Favorite product, birthday, is it a phone number so you can text? Up to you, right? Phone number could also be a customer ID if you wanted to do it that way. And then you'd have a built-in way, right? Because if someone's giving you their phone number to identify themselves, then as long as you've asked for permission, you can also text them. So use your email tools to set up some base trigger campaigns. Like I said, Constant Contact and MailChimp are 2 of the really great tools out there. There's others, right? But I stuck to what I'm familiar with, which is Constant Contact and MailChimp. And figure, again, just to give you some practical advice on how to get started. And then the last thing is, right, keep asking for more information in every interaction, because that's how you're going to build up your knowledge base. And then the more knowledge that you have, the better off you're going to be. So I hope you found that to be helpful this evening. This is my contact information. You can find me at Jenn McMillen at IncendioWorks.com. I am also on LinkedIn, and I would love to take questions if there are any questions to be had.
Thank you so much, Jenn. That was a wealth of information. I was taking notes myself. Nodat is all about helping small businesses not only attract new customers, but retain them. And we felt that was one of the biggest issues that small businesses were having. I had a question, but I think we have time for one question.
Okay.
From Deandra Moore. She says, hi, Jenn. To your point of marketing to people the way they wish to be marketed to, what are some of the ways we can now market to customers now that they are afraid of coming in stores due to the pandemic?
I mean, a lot of people will say email's dead, right? But every example I gave in here, was an email example. And, companies are not shy about it. And so, like I said, if you have garnered permission, right, this is the thing that's going to be big in your world, right, is as long as you have permission to market on either email or text, I think those are the most cost-effective and easy ways to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
The honor is all ours. Hope to have you back again. Are you able to share your slides so that we can send them out? Awesome.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenn.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Wow, that was a wealth of information. And I'm just going to share a couple of little gems, and then we're going to, while our next speaker kind of cues up here, she said that your offer should have an end date. And don't offer something over and over again. And that goes in, that is consistent with Nodat hot offers. We make sure that your offers are not sitting around static. And so every offer has a timer. Every offer disappears. And that's what ephemeral mobile marketing is. It's fast-paced, impulse buying, mobile coupons. Okay, and so now our next speaker, I'm going to bring him on stage. His name is Brian Chaput. I hope I said your last name right. Am I saying your last name right, Brian?
Yeah.
You have to close your other tab from coming from the backstage.
All right, I did that. Is that better?
Yep, it's a lot better.
Yeah, you said it right. As long as you didn't say kaput. That's.
Is that what most people call you?
I've had that once or twice. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad that I got that right. And so I'm excited to talk to you today. We'll be discussing the differences between mobile versus digital marketing channels and strategies. And then we'll be discussing how you use those strategies to get maximum brand exposure for IBM and HCL software. And then we'll work in some Q&A for the audience as well. Also, just want to remind the audience during our fireside chat, you can also you can either stay for this conversation or you can hop over to our next breakout session, which is with Holly Rachel. She's co-founder of Rachel Winfrey Data Analytics, and she's going to be talking about how to use the data that you collect from using the strategies that Jenn just gave you, how to use that data to become a data-driven small business. And so there are 20 slots open in that class as well. So if you can stay here and conversate with Brian and I, or you can hop over to that chat. All right. So this conversation I am eager and excited about because I'm all about digital and mobile marketing. And so I'm excited to bring Brian to the stage. He's a specialist in technology products and product marketing. He focused on digital experience solutions. Most recently, he was the Associate Vice President at HCL Software, where he led product management for the HCL digital experience portfolio, and recently went through a multi-million-dollar exit. Before that, he worked at IBM in product marketing and product management, and as the IBM Alliance Director for Bow Street, which was also acquired by IBM in 2005. And so we are excited to talk with you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. The pleasure is all ours. We're excited to be able to pick your brain today about this very important topic of digital and mobile marketing, where we saw a lot of businesses quickly transition to that during the pandemic. But before we begin, I'm going to ask if you'll share a little bit about your experience in this space with digital and mobile marketing.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. As you mentioned, I was with HCL as the Associate Vice President of Digital Experience Solutions, IBM before that. So in both roles, the unique thing was I helped very large organizations and some of the world's best known brands globally figure out how to best get their customer experience message out to the market. Now, I think the world's changed, as we've talked about. The internet has leveled the playing field for everyone. While there's still some challenges for businesses of all sizes, there's certainly some opportunities that folks can take to do that. So my experience really crossed the spectrum of technology and solutions that play now with what we call digital and mobile marketing. So just to kind of scratch down a little bit below that, starting in the mid 2000s, I teamed with others to help organizations define how they were going to deliver their web experiences, right? There was this gold rush just to get online for a lot of organizations. That was the first thing. However, what happened quickly thereafter was that explosion of mobile, right? So we helped craft approaches to expand to mobile. So basically, the mobile web originally, right, was really just how do I get my website even optimized to look nice on a mobile device, right? Then, of course, came mobile applications, which allowed that experience to get, taken to another level, because now it could be much richer, right, for your customers and your users on whatever mobile device that they had, that they chose to use, and access from wherever they so choose, right? That's the really important part. Now, I do want to add in, I think you mentioned my background in digital experiences. I think one thing we all have to be cognizant of is there's many more connected devices coming online than we've ever had before. They all tend to fall into the mobile category, however, right? But if you think about a smartwatch, or, I have a fitness tracker, you think about that. Automobiles are internet connected devices now, so are your appliances. My wife pointed out to me a mobile connected sewing machine that she was interested in. Again, at the point of use, how can we reach people and perhaps, engage with them and, interact with them and transact with them, right? So, and we don't know what's going to come next, right? But all these digital and mobile and digital touch and entry points for consumers, started to make us think about just talking about them as digital experiences, less so than, just specifically customer experiences, because it's the customer using the digital access to do that. So I've spent the most recent amount of my time figuring how do we take that digital technology and those digital touch points and apply it so that, we can make it so that organizations can deliver what I call an exceptional customer experience, right? Which I know it sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it seems. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. And quite frankly, what Jenn just covered, that people would pay lots of money to get that kind of value information. And she did it brilliantly in 30 minutes. So, I hope the folks take advantage of all the opportunities here. And I actually, I'm a little bit, I'm thrilled that people might be listening to this, but it sounds like some of those breakout sessions are really interesting as well. So hopefully you get an opportunity to go to some of those.
Yes. I want to focus on when you mentioned about the digital, the smart devices and the digital experience. And then you also mentioned that a lot of those are considered mobile as well.
Right.
And kind of what I've, seen is that a lot of businesses kind of see digital and mobile marketing as the same thing. And so, however, we know that, those are two different strategies. And so can you kind of go into that a little bit and kind of help us or give us an example and help us see how digital experience and then mobile marketing are, like, what does that look like?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to answer that, because that could be a couple of hours conversation. Generally, sometimes better over a couple of beverages, but it really is a good question. And I think it is important to understand how they're related, but a bit different, right? And so let's start with the textbook answer, right? Digital marketing is if you look it up, you see definitions about it be a term that describes marketing strategies that involve reaching customers through digital channels, right? Your website, social media, search engine, advertising, email, what have you. And then you've got, we talk about mobile marketing. Technically, mobile marketing is a component of a digital marketing strategy that targets customers who access information through mobile devices. I believe, arguably, it's the most important component of digital marketing. And it really needs to be what I call the point of the spear of your digital marketing strategy. So I guess to say it another way, if you only employ mobile marketing, I think you're already performing the best tactic that you can take forward initially. And it's really what most businesses that I've seen start with prove to be most effective in realizing some results from that. So that's the sort of the, what's mobile marketing versus digital. They're the same but different, but it is interrelated. Now, why should anybody care? But particularly, why should small business marketers care? Well, I spend an awful lot of time doing reading. I know you do, and many of our audience probably does as well, about what's going on in the space, right? Mm-hmm. So studies upon studies show that unequivocally smartphone usage continually surpasses all other digital touch points. I mean, it's just a fact, right? One report I read just recently stated that in the United States alone, we spend 70% of our mobile usage consuming digital media, right? And quite frankly, the US isn't even the world's largest mobile users compared to other countries. And also still, and this is a bit unbelievable, but every year the number of people getting online keeps growing. It's up about 5% in the past year. So those, those holdouts, those people that still hadn't, had that way to connect, digitally to, the businesses that they want to interact with, are now kind of breaking that down. I see that with some of my, elderly relatives, for example, right? And they're just doing that. Now, having said all that, I don't think anybody needs those studies to understand that what I just shared, isn't something we can't glean, make decisions from ourselves. We're out there every day seeing people. We understand what people are doing with their phones. And the upside of it is there's good opportunity for businesses, right? Your products and services, your customers and their passions. They're connected to their phones, and you said it earlier. What has happened in the past year, the pandemic has changed many things. I believe there's a real thirst from consumers that's really about to burst open, and a real desire, I know from my tribe that I spend time with, to help small businesses kind of grow out of this and recover, right? So now I think it's really a time to think about, when you think about this mobile strategy, is what compelling offers can you put in front of the audience through that mobile touch point? Certainly all of the touch points, they're all important. But the mobile one is the one that I think still has the prevalent use among all others, whereas a lot of those channels get consumed through that mobile device as well. So I think it's a really important point that people just consider that and think about. And the small business is a little bit more nimble, and I think has the opportunity to really lead with that versus some of the big players.
Right, and I agree with you. And thinking about what you just said about what mobile offers can you put in front of the consumer at all times. And then going back to what Jenn talked about, kind of following your customer's journey and making sure that you get a little piece of information from them at every interaction. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how the tools that you use to grow the product awareness and reach at HCM and IBM to do just that, like to follow your target customer's footprint across mobile or across web? Sure. Like what type of tools did you use to do that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to share. And as I said, even though we were a large entity, I think there's opportunities. The tools are available for every size, business to take advantage of. It's just picking the right tool, right, and using it appropriately. So we were fortunate at IBM and HCL. We were both the creator and user of enterprise marketing automation tools. So in some respects, we had to eat our own cooking, right? And what I mean is, since we used what we developed, we were able to experience firsthand what was good about a tool, and unfortunately, sometimes the challenging things about the various tools. Nonetheless, overall, they really did provide tools to help us create marketing campaigns, specifically by helping marketers organize, create, and manage the compelling digital content, right? Just defining what's the right content and offer that we're gonna make. Defining your segment of users, if that's something that you need to do, right? It's part of what Jenn talked about is, are you getting to the right person at the right time? Creating that automated, that campaign that might include things like automating email schedules and really providing analytics useful for measuring the campaign effectiveness. Now, I kind of want to stop there because I do want to riff a little bit on what Jenn was saying, because I think it's really important. You heard from her, and I know you'll hear in other parts of this event, about data. And I think that's important because focusing on the what and how of mobile and digital marketing is important, but I think more important is the why, right? Yeah. And that comes from data and analytics. Now let me just say something, because I think people hear data analytics and they think complexity, right? I don't think it has to be overly complex, but I will encourage you that the businesses I've seen it do it best is been able to take that data and make really informed decisions about the what and the how based on the insights gleaned from the data. So I call those actionable insights. And I think, to me, that's like mining gold, right? Mm-hmm. Because the payoff is measurable and usually, very positive. Now, I kind of want to go back to what you were asking me, and sorry, I'm on a little bit of a riff here, but I will say that there are more marketing automation solutions, literally thousands, than anyone has time to reasonably take a look at and review, right? So what I would caution against assuming that there's one grand solution for every requirement, because there isn't. Often, even though at IBM we offered really complete solutions, even for large enterprises, it sometimes can create more complexity than intended, and it becomes cumbersome rather than freeing for the marketer. So what we saw sometimes was our customers ended up with software gurus instead of marketing experts. And that really misses the point of what these marketers originally intended the solution to enable and speed, right? Which was, I just want to create a compelling offer and either grow my share of wallet or gain some recognition or increase my loyalty, or and do that by doing things like that, the FOMO, the fear of missing out. I think there's, so really take a hard look at, what data do you have? And if you don't have it, that's okay. But just know that you should start to collect some of that. You can do it on spreadsheets if you need to. You can write it down. There's certainly great tools that will help you do that. But every insight you get will just help you shape it going forward, so you can just continue to fine tune the message. And that's what we did. We spent a lot of time, even at IBM, we weren't as smart as, we tried to be very smart, but, sometimes we would, for example, a lot of our products were technical, so we'd appeal to software developers, for example, right? And, the good news is we also had software developers. So we would make some assumptions about what would be compelling, what would be of interest. But the reality is, so oftentimes we would find something completely different outside of the IBM world of technology about, how something should be accomplished or done, or what would be appealing. So, so those are, just, I know they're kind of high level, and I think everyone assumes they should just be doing those things. But I find a lot of organizations were focused on the how and the what, and not as much on the why. So
yeah, I agree with that. And one thing that we found at Nodat is figuring out where our customers, were coming from.
Yep.
So that that gives us a little bit more information about them and what was on their mind, and what time they, clicked on our offer. It was 3:00 in the morning, then 9 times out of 10, that business owner was up worried about something or thinking about something. So it kind of gives us a better look into, that specific customer, and so that we know how to approach them in a personal email instead of one of these promotional emails.
Yeah, so that's smart. You took insight, right? And you took an action against that insight. And I think that's really important, just to keep that in mind.
Yes. And I think small businesses, a lot are afraid because it's called big data. And so we think that it's for enterprises. And so we don't necessarily deal with the data. Even looking at, their social media, right? They have analytics on their social media. There's a little bit of data that you can get from that, but going and using some of the tools that you were mentioning, just simple like Google Analytics, will get more insight into that. Why should I create this type of content? Why should I create this type of offer?
Perfect. Yep.
And so my last question, was going to be, you mentioned this already, but this is one of my favorite quotes. Bloomberg said the trend has been that mobile was winning. But he says now it has won. And so, and we see that, right? We saw that in 2020. So what role do you foresee mobile in digital marketing playing going into the next decade?
Sure.
Like, will this be the primary source of marketing?
Yeah. So first of all, well said by Bloomberg. Right. I don't think anybody could reasonably argue that point. If you think about some of the statistics I referred to earlier, it's one, data point, right? That's speaking about data. But I recall, look, I'm a little long in the tooth. I've been doing this for a long time, talking about digital and mobile and digital experiences. But I remember 10 years ago talking about, the still coming explosion of mobile, right? And look at the statistics say that it's still exploding, right? So, it's here, right? It's not coming, it's here, but it's going to continue to just blow out in different ways, because I think we have to think about mobile, not just about, again, the telephones, but also think about these other devices. Yeah, right. They call it, some people, it's referred to sometimes as the Internet of Things, but, where there's going to be touch points for people when they're on the go, right, and through whatever device that they so choose. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about that. Now, look, it can be daunting, right? And Jenn talked about this earlier, right? When we talk about, we see and hear the terms digital and mobile marketing. There's also this more obtuse term called digital transformation that's floating around out there. But I think, as you and I have talked about, I think we need to get a bit back to basics. The best businesses are passionate about their products and services, and they know and really understand their customers and their target market, right? So based on that, I would just say, what's likely to get the customer or user, better engaged? What gets them excited? What do you think is going to get them moving? Because what would get you moving, right? Because you're passionate as a business owner or a marketer about it, right? I think knowing all that's the most critical part. And then the tools, I don't want to minimize the tools, but the tools then just become the way to implement that compelling offer and get the broadcast that out, right? In a means that's effective, right? And well informed by some of that analytics that we talked about to drive engagement. I will say from my experience, and again, coming from IBM, we tended to work with very large entities, but not always. But we tended to have conversations with customers about thinking mobile first. That was an actual term that we used. When we started talking about building websites and web experiences, many customers just kept that mindset even until very recently. And we said, look, if you do mobile first right, doing web's easy, right? That, creating the mobile experience is one, it's the most accessible by your target audience, right? Because everyone's going to be, accessing it through these smart devices and these digital experience touch points. But, then the web part can be created, thereafter. So I think if you think of it that way, think about the compelling content in the offers, think about mobile first, like how will that become the primary source? I think we've established that the mobile technology is ubiquitous now, right? So I believe it's the primary source of effective marketing for all of our businesses. I think now, and honestly, I see no reason why that won't be the way for the foreseeable future. So I think everyone knows it, and I think a lot of businesses think they're doing it, and they are. So you're all digitally transforming, for that term I talked about earlier before. But I think it needs continued focus. I really do. Yeah,
I agree, and I think it's important to point out that it is possible for small businesses to participate in this, and it doesn't have to be this big complicated thing. Right. And Jenn asked a question in the chat, and so we are going to take questions right now.
Okay, sure.
And so Jenn asked the question, what does marketing automation mean for a small business?
Yeah. So I think the tenets go back to what we talked about before, which is I would suggest thinking mobile first, and mobile first being part of your digital marketing strategy, right? First and foremost. And then think about, when you talk about automating for that audience or automating campaigns for that, it's defining who the audience is, coming up with a compelling offer. Think about if there's a schedule for that needs to be applied. You talked about at different times, you see that different people were interacting with your business. We saw the same at IBM. I'm sure all the businesses have the same. Are there opportunities? Are there valleys in your flow of customers into your store? Are there valleys of times when people aren't placing orders with you for whatever reasons? And think about using the marketing automation tools to create that compelling offer to fill those valleys, right? To try to bring those valleys back up. So I would encourage them to look at marketing automation through the lens of, can it specifically help me with what I need to do for my target audience? And does it give me all the tools I need to do that, right? I think a lot of people don't have to maybe segment their market very deeply, right? Or personalization is always important. I think if you can think about, if there are different segments of your audience, when we talk to banks, of course, they had gold, silver, and platinum tiers of customers, right? If you happen to be one, you got different offers than the next. I don't know for small businesses if you need to get that complex. Perhaps you do, right? You may want to try to create some appeal for somebody to be, a gold customer instead of a bronze customer, for example. So, it's a hard question to answer. What specifically should a business do? I think start off with if you know the how and the what, then the why, and then the tools will kind of line up to help you achieve those.
I think it's good to experiment as well, and not be afraid to experiment with the tools. And if you see some type of success with it, then put more effort behind it.
Yep.
But I absolutely love what you said about using the data to see what times customers interact, or if you're having a slow time, then maybe that's when you want to use an offer, because that's exactly what our hot offers are about. And like listening to everything that has been said up until this point, it just reminds me of what we've been building for the last 3 years for small businesses to make it less cumbersome and complicated for them to use, and then also allowing them to use that data to be able to get their offers in front of their target customers at specific times when it makes sense for the customer and when it makes sense for the business, so that they're both winning.
Yeah.
And I honestly haven't seen anything out there like that.
No.
Yeah. And so.
I think that's a really cool approach to a problem, or opportunity. I should say opportunity, not problem.
Yeah, and I'm just excited to even hear y'all talk about it, because it just continues to validate what we've been working on and what we've been seeing in the market for small.
Yeah, let me give you, if I have 1 minute, if I could, just give you a quick story. So it happens to be my wife. I mentioned talking about sewing machines earlier. She's a prodigious quilter. She likes to quilt. It's something she's picked up after she stopped teaching. But it's a very tactile, right, endeavor, right? Looking at material, looking at thread, looking at the tools. So, one small quilt shop that she supports here locally was having not a lot of people coming into the store over the past pandemic time. So they started these email campaigns where they did the 12 days of Christmas, where for 12 days they hid something on their website. And if you found it, write it down and send it to them. And they entered you into drawings. But you know what happened? My wife told me about that. I went to the quilt store and bought my wife a gift certificate for Christmas, right? I'm not a customer of the quilt store, but I became one because my wife told me about this campaign that was going on. And I said, well, it sounds like a business worth supporting. And I went out there. So it wasn't necessarily the FOMO per se, but their marketing actually got a sale that they probably wouldn't have had otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Now look, that's a very small, story and, one very small data point, but it just happened to be timely as we were preparing for this event that, that happened to me. So.
Yeah. And that
right?
Huh?
Think outside the box. I walked in there and they, now I'm on their email list.
Exactly. And you were probably, your wife was most likely their target customer. And that,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I try to share with small businesses. A lot of times small businesses market on social media, and there's this big pool of content, big pool of people. It's 50 billion pieces of content a day on social media, and so it's hard to get in front of your target customer. If you focus on just having one conversation with one specific type of customer, then that customer is going to tell somebody else about you, and you're going to get, you're going to get the pastor or the, the classmate. And so, yes. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this conversation. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure that our audience got a lot of gems today. We're recording this and we're gonna share it out to anyone who was in the breakout session so that they can get this information as well. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, and take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, man, I'm just flying high over here with all of this good information. And I hope that you are enjoying the information that you're getting and you're finding it valuable. If you are, drop something in the chat and let me know that you're getting value from this. We also have our expo booths where we have some free downloads for you, some discounts for you. So hop over to the booths and download that. Our sponsors, GoTV, right now is giving streaming service for free, sign up for free to stream multicultural television. Anala is looking to connect with small and medium retail, small businesses. And Nodat has a white paper for you, and it's completely free. We did some research. We talked to some consumers during the pandemic to find out how they were changing their shopping habits, to see if they were more likely to shop online now or still want to shop in person, and you'll be surprised what they said. So go over there, download that white paper, and get this data so that you know what to do this year to get in front of your target customers. We did this all for you because we want you to win in 2020. All right, so moving on to the next thing. We will be talking with Miss Anavia McMillen. And let me see if she is queued up. Anavia, if you can queue up and come to the stage. Anavia is this will be another fireside chat where we'll be talking about Facebook algorithm changes and how those changes happened recently, and what you can do to make sure that you have a strong social media strategy to work with these algorithm changes. Let's see. Let me see where Anavia is. 1 second. I might go ahead and move with Charelle since Anavia is not on stage. Let's see, Charelle, can you come to the stage? All right, so we're gonna bring, oh, well, let's see. So Charelle, pop off, Anavia is here. So we're gonna go ahead and bring Anavia on. If it brings you on, Charelle, just pop back off. Oh, it kicked you out, Anna. Well, nonetheless, you're here, and we're going to bring you on stage.
Hi.
Hey.
Apparently, I was really excited, and I requested access to the main stage too soon. So I was sitting here for 15 minutes, like really engrossed in Brian, and I looked up and I'm like, oh, I no longer have an option to go on stage. Anyway, I had to go out and come back in. Thanks. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So if you request for so long, it kicks you out?
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is I requested to join the stage like 10 or 15 minutes ago. So maybe that's a little premature. No.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you were excited. That makes me happy. So that means you were getting something out of the conversation so far.
Sure.
Yes, I'm happy to hear that. Before I get started with introducing Anavia, just want to remind you that right now you have the opportunity to attend our last breakout session of the night with Miss Jacqueline Hayes. And Jackie will be talking about how to take some of the information that you just learned from Brian and apply it to an SEO, SEM strategy for your small business so that you can get on the first page of Google, so that you can use content marketing in your SEM advertising. It's just going to be a high level. And so you can hop over there. There's 20 spots open for that. And so now we're going to be talking about how to crack the social media algorithm, which just gets on everybody's nerves, right? And so it's a headache. We're not, I was just telling Brian.
I mean, I have an entire agency that does that. So like, I'm not saying my whole day is a headache, but it's not the funnest part of the thing. Like, algorithms aren't my favorite part of the job, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and I think it's getting to the point to where you can't even say the word algorithms anymore because, yeah, it's just crazy. But we know that taking shortcuts and doing things that's unethical will ultimately hurt your brand, and so it can end up getting you banned. And so we have to find a way to use to continue to grow our social media and to use these algorithm changes, right, to get real engagement. And so during this fireside chat, we're going to be talking with Ms. Anavia McMillen. She's the CEO of Piccolo Marketing right here in Nashville. She's going to be sharing her strategy for decoding the social media algorithms. Anavia is a regular contributor to Forbes, and she's active in the national community through numerous charities, boards, and volunteer efforts. So, Anavia.
Yes.
I think it's important to know what the goal of the platform is that you're marketing on when dealing with social media. And so just mainly because the social media platforms are a business as well, and they have needs, right, and quotas to fulfill. So let's talk a little bit about what those needs are of these platforms and how people putting content on these platforms fills those needs, and how do they prioritize the importance of that, and how do small businesses, what should they do with that information to create a social media strategy going to 2021?
Yeah. So when we work with small businesses as our clients, one of the biggest challenges that we see is inconsistency. And so let me give you like a little like synopsis. Yep. Like we started our business and we were really hot and heavy with social media and we were posting on all the platforms all the time, multiple times a day. And then we got really busy. And so we started posting less. And then we got super busy and we stopped posting on some of the channels. And then like we still post on Instagram sometimes, but it's been a minute. And then I go look to see how long a minute is. And a minute is like a year and a half. And you're like, don't point at yourself like you're not on social media all day. I see you. So, but that's the thing, right? Is that like we have, as business owners, we have the best intentions. And ideally, you would want to have the time to set aside for your social media and your SEO and your website and your email and your, right? Like marketing is this like never ending. It's like a monster you're constantly feeding, right? It's just always eating. And so, as an agency, what we have to do is what you said, which is help our clients figure out which of these platforms is really going to be the best for you and why, meaning who is your target audience and which platforms are they on and which ones can we reasonably manage. So it is better to post less often and be consistent about it than it is to post really hot and heavy multiple times a day for 2 weeks and then go away for 3 weeks and then come back and post twice and then go away for a month and then come back really with a renewed focus of social media. Your audience wants to have consistency. And one of the things we call social media is your digital legitimacy, right? So like people don't necessarily read a tweet that you posted and go, oh my God, this is the most insightful thing I've ever read. Where do I sign up? Where is there a contract that I like set? That's very rare. What they do is they meet you somewhere. Somebody tells them about your company, right? And they go look you up online. And what they're going to find is your social media, hopefully amongst your website and other things. And you want that to show your subject matter expertise, your consistency in the community, and eventually, an 80-20 rule, the services and products that you provide. So when you're asking, how does your strategy really encompass social media for 2021, it needs to be individual or bespoke for every business. You have to consider who is your audience, what channels are they on, and what content are you feeding them on those channels and when. That's really going to gather engagement, but consistency is key.
You mentioned the 80-20 rule, and that actually leads right into my next question about. I know we see a lot of these trends on social media, like the hashtag trends that Facebook will start.
Yes,
and then we see people just jump right on those, and sometimes I wonder if that's good for brands to ride those trends every time, or should we continue to focus on providing value and stick to that 80-20 rule?
It's a really great question. So when our clients ask, this is what we tell them. We only need to be writing trends if it has application to your brand and or your audience, and you have the bandwidth to do that. So for example, do you guys remember the dress? Is the dress black and blue? Oh, yeah. Or is it white and gold? Were those the colors?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I know what you're talking about. And believe it was like a couple of years ago, and my 12-year-old brought that picture to me
yes.
last week.
Like what? So since then, there have been 2 or 3 different versions. There was a nail polish, there was a tennis shoe, there was all these things, right? And everyone wants to know, like, what color do you think it is? Now, I love those things because I get, like, it's just something fun, right? And everybody has a different interpretation. It's quick and it's easy. And here's the key word. It's benign. There's nothing like controversial about it. There's nothing that is like, when I say like off brand, like that is such a human experience, right? It's a very like broad facing thing. There are, however, a lot of trends, and I'm going to use one. Erica, you and I have spoken about this at length. Earlier this year, we had a civil rights movement, and there were a lot of hashtags happening very quickly on social media. And as a company, an agency, we have to go to our clients and make recommendations, and say, this is how we recommend you handle it, or we need to wait. And that's where you can get yourself in trouble. I'm not saying don't participate in those. I'm saying you need to have a brand message defined for your business that says, this is who we are, and this is how we're going to respond to those things, if at all. Like, Leah Hayes is a good friend of mine. I think you know her. She's in our vault, and she is the podcasting host and owner of Her Story of Success. And during that entire thing, one of the wonderful pieces of advice she had was, I have learned through this that I don't need to have my own unique opinion or message or whatever on behalf of me and my company, but I can use my company to bolster the voices of other people that are smarter than me or more experienced than me in this thing, right? So that was a whole new, it's like a shift, right? You don't have to be involved in everything on social media just because it's trending. If it doesn't match your brand or your purpose or your vision or goals, it's okay to sit it out. But if you do choose to participate, make sure you're doing it with some conscientious thought. Do you have to be, do you have to come up with your whole own opinion? Or, can you share other resources for people and turn that into a value add, which brings us back to that 80-20 rule.
And it makes me think about, like, when we are jumping on these trends, I think like we should be focusing on sharing evergreen content on media, right? And a lot of times these trends will not have evergreen content attached to it. And so it'll be outdated when someone goes back to your page, or when someone comes to your page who just learned about you, that it can't be that valuable for collecting leads over, month over month.
Oh, yeah. And you can always edit. I mean, look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift decided to rebrand with, the look what you made me do, and deleted every post ever on her social media and started from scratch. So it's, celebrities and stuff, they do that all the time. Like, it doesn't mean that they've posted anything bad. They're updating their brand. Like, you can do that as well, right? So like, if you've posted something that was, I'll call it transitional, it was trending, it was temporary, but it doesn't have a place in your long-term brand, we do that. I go back onto my Instagram because it is a place where people look at things as a palette, so to speak. Right. And I'll go back and go, hey, this post that I posted, it was really cool to do that for New Year's Eve 2017. But like, it doesn't really have a place on my brand. It's okay. It doesn't match anymore. It doesn't fit. I have it as a memory for me, but like, it's not something that I want on my social, and I can take that off. So just because you put it out there doesn't mean it has to permanently live there. But also what you're saying earlier, you don't want to be like unethical and post weird stuff and then take that off to like, keep from suffering the consequences. Yeah. So I'm talking about trends and transitional posts that are, timely within the moment, but you might not want to live on your pages long-term. Okay.
And so, in thinking about the type of posting that we do that fits with the algorithm, we know that Facebook has 4 buckets that they focus on, which is engagement, relevancy, quality, and it's one more. It's inventory. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So they have the 4 buckets that they focus on, and Jared Vandermeer says that in order to crack the social media algorithm and hit those 4 buckets, to make sure that Facebook shows your content to the people who are following you, there are 3 things that you're supposed to do. So it's telling a story with your content, which, like, not selling, like literally telling a story that your followers would want to watch or see, solving a problem for them.
Yep. Or value-added content.
And then engaging them with emotion. And so when your brand is, let's say, a burger shop or a hot chicken restaurant, or
I have a lot of emotion around cheeseburgers. So whenever you're about to say, be careful, because
that's what I'm asking. So like,
cheeseburgers, man.
Okay, let's say, a tire shop, right?
Sure, I get it.
How do you do that? Like without selling, without constantly posting, and get 20% off of an oil change. How do you hit those buckets to make sure that Facebook shows your content?
Yeah. So, okay. We were talking a moment ago about, which platforms you need to be on. So the first thing you need to do is, like, let's say you're a mechanic, right? So you do oil changes and tire rotations and, various other mechanic things. And you're going, what do I do on my social media? When I'm thinking about the audience for a mechanic, I have to think about, well, who's going to go to that particular mechanic? So then I go, okay, well, who are their consumers? You have men and women, but it's probably geographically bound. Right. So like, I'm not going to drive, 40 miles to get to a mechanic, especially if my car's messed up. Like there's a geographic radius around my house that I'm probably going to, have a preference for, which means that in general, they're probably going to get more engagement through community posting than they are about oil changes. Mm-hmm. Because what I'm looking for in a mechanic, I have a mechanic. He's 1.5 miles from my house. And like, what I know about him is that like, every time I go in, I can tell that and this is just as a woman, like when I go in, like he respects me. He doesn't talk down to me. He doesn't try to sell me stuff I don't need. He goes above and beyond to make sure that my car is taken care of. Like, hey, I need you to fix X, Y, and Z so I can pass emissions. I come back and he ran the car through emissions for me to make sure. Like, that's awesome, right? So I'm going to go to him because of who he is as a person, right? And you want to tell those stories. I'm not telling everybody what a great job you did changing my oil, because I can go to any Valvoline and or a Jiffy Lube or whatever. What I'm doing is I've recommended him to 10 different women. Hey, you want a mechanic that's going to take care of you? This is a great guy, because he's not going to try to take advantage of you. He's going to blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. So telling the story and what you post on social media, I don't even know if he has social media now that I think about it. Telling the story, you can work in the services, right? We had this really great customer experience with Anavia today. She came in and her car was having X, Y, and Z issues. We knew that she needed to get it passed through emissions. So we took care of X, Y, and Z. But, when she brought it back, we had already run it through emissions and she had, really great things to say, or it was a great experience. Of course, it's always better if you can get a customer testimonial to do that, or have them, them speak that to life. But I want to give you an example of one where we were representing a company and we told a story where what they do is not necessarily attractive. So Erica, this, one of our clients is a ServPro franchise. And ServPro does disaster restoration. So if you have a fire, if there's water damage in your home, your commercial property, they'll clean it up. There was a home fire, and a little kid lived there. And he had these two little, I'm sure a lot of parents know, it's like a blanket, but one of the corners is a stuffed animal head. You know what I'm talking about? So it's like a little, like, what do they call them? Wubbas or something like that. A security blanket. I don't know. I have kids. I don't know. But anyway, they got a picture when they went in to assess this of one of their crew people in their uniform holding up these two little blankets with the two little doll heads, stuffed animal head, covered in soot. I don't know how they didn't burn, but somehow they didn't. And this was this kid, like these things were this kid, they were his security blankets. Oh. So imagine you're going through a fire, your whole house burns down, your literal security blankets are in the fire, and you can't have them because they're covered in fire, soot and smoke and grossness. They took these things, they cleaned them thoroughly the way ServPro does, and they gave them back to the kid, and they had the before and after shot, right? Mm. We didn't have a testimonial from the family. We just told the story. We were able to find these things. We were able to clean them. We were able to give them back to this little boy. That I have goosebumps talking about it. Like, that one post had so much engagement. Just people, wow, that's so, that's so awesome. Great job. Like, that's so terrible for, like, so much emotional empathy, I guess is the right way to say that. But like there was no sales tool in it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it wasn't even value add. It's not like you can go back to that and go, I'm going to use this to like up here. It just was a human emotion piece. So that's where we challenge people. You're going to have to fill your social media with a lot of routine stuff. Those things don't happen every day. We get that, right? You're not going to have you're not going to have an empathetic story every single day. You're not going to have a testimonial every day. You're going to have to put in, resource sharing and how to articles we write for them, 5 things to do to your HVAC unit before the summer comes and you turn on your AC, right? Like those are the kinds of blogs we're writing. But when we're talking about social, people want to be able to engage. So I hope that answers your question. I think when you're talking about the algorithm, it's a hard pin to put down.
But I think I get what you're saying though, because it's social media, right?
Right.
And I think I said this the other day. We were talking to a friend on the phone. It's not sales media and it's not salesy media. And Zuckerberg has said millions of times how he wants to go back to it being a platform where people communicate with each other, where family and friends communicate. And so as a brand, one thing that he has done, if you have a lot of followers on your business page, yet you have low engagement, it's actually a penalty on the platform. And he actually deems it, low quality or no quality account. And that's bad. And so the better thing to do is to go and clean up that follower account if your followers are not engaging in that account, and then start sharing social type of content like what you said. I mean, even if I had seen that Serve Pro post, I would have shared it. I would have commented and said, "Oh, like
it's still up. You can go back. It's just a couple years ago. You can share it still. I'll find it." Yeah,
like seeing it. How they have the memory.
Right.
I would have loved it and shared it again, just simply because of the message that's behind it. And then it says, "Look how far Serve Pro goes." Right. They don't stop at just what do they do? Clean garbage? I don't know. What is that?
No, they clean, so if you have if your basement, if your water heater leaks in your basement, they'll come clean up all the water and the mold and all that everything. Or if you have a fire, they'll clean everything. Their motto is it never even happened. So I mean, their goal is to get everything really clean for you. So fire and water are just the top.
That even lined up. Like they didn't stop at just that. When they mean get everything cleaned up for you, they went and got that baby's. And even clean those up, and that's still a brand message. That's selling. That's still selling, but doing it through emotion, doing it through relevancy. One of
the words that has to stand out is authenticity. You have to be authentic, because if your go-to social media strategy is it's 20% off this weekend, or hey, I have this, I'm going to say widgets, I got widgets to sell. My widgets are awesome. Come buy my widgets. Everybody loves my widgets. They're 10% off this weekend. You're making yourself a commodity, and you're devaluing your brand. You're devaluing your product and service. And people are not looking to connect with you. And that's where you said you start to lose engagement. You get penalized in the algorithm. You're not even being shown. I mean, best you're hoping for organically at this point is 5 or 6% of your audience without, a boosted post, which means, if people aren't engaging on a regular basis, it's going down from there. And so you have to keep that authenticity. We oftentimes go back to a combination of community and personalized posting coupled with subject matter expertise and value add references. Because again, you're not going to have 100% community stuff, because that's just, unless you're just you got a lot going on. Oh, hey.
Sorry.
It's okay.
That's okay. So you're going to have, you want to balance that out. And that's why we say the 80-20 rule. I've mentioned that a couple of times, and I want to make sure I've explained that. You want at least 80% of your content to be value added, where you are not overtly selling anything on your social media posting, your email marketing, all that kind of stuff, right? Even your website to some extent. 20% or less needs to be, here is a product or service we offer, give us a call about it, or something a little bit more with a call to action. Doesn't mean you can't talk about the things that you're doing in your 80% of posts, but you have to find ways to set yourselves apart. It's that unique value proposition. And if you don't have authenticity, all you're doing is just regurgitating old content, or offering discounts or standing at your pulpit shouting about your widgets. Nobody wants, like, and you have to stop and think about it. I'm not trying to be gross. How many times are you taking a bathroom break or standing in line at the bank, scrolling on your phone? Do you look at those? I mean, unless it's a brand you already like Brian said, right? His wife liked the store. He understood, he went and got that. That's because she already had an exhibited interest in that brand. But like, if you just see that in your feed, man, you just scroll and scroll. Like, we're immune to it at this point.
Yeah. And that, I think it is that in that 80%, it's selling, but it's not. Like, one thing that we do with Nodat, our brand has my personality. It's about helping. I help, I give, really, really passionate about it. And so, like, anytime I talk about how I know that, it's from that voice, and it's from me being transparent and just selling who we are, as a company, and not necessarily saying, hey, sign up for hard offers. Or, kind of like what we did yesterday with, giving out the free tip on how to get more views on their IG and Facebook lives. And that was just fun. That was fun watching people pop on and say, I got it.
I literally was like, what is Erica doing talking about me on Facebook? And I got on, I was like, oh, she's smart. This is very smart. Yeah. Very smart.
It's so much joy to watch small businesses say, thank you for this tip, because a lot of times that's all they need. It's just something to help them figure out how to crack that. And so we're going to go to questions so that we can bring on last speaker of the night. Are there any questions in the chat?
I didn't see any while I was chatting. I don't know if anybody wants to add one, but I'm an open book if you do.
Okay. I think everybody's just listening.
Oh, this is so much great information. Like, I was listening to, and it's just like, you want to take it in. And I love that Brian is like, authenticity is the key takeaway. Cause like, there's so many things, and you get to where, as a business owner, I want to execute all those things. Right. And then it's like, okay, but when do I have the time, and can I absorb all of this and that kind of thing? So one thing I'll say while we're, just in case anybody has any questions, but while we're waiting, last sort of point here. One of the things I highly recommend for small business owners is figuring out a way to batch your social media. And I need to say this because I do some volunteering with SCORE and, just with our clients, and people seem to be under the impression that like you have to organically post on each platform every day in real time. Not all of us can be Erica. So you've got you've got to be strategic about it. So like, one of the ways that we run our agency, as well as how I run mine, we batch the posting. So we'll sit down and do 4 to 6 weeks worth of social media posts in one sitting. And when you do it that way, and again, just key takeaways, you're going to save so much time, and your messaging will be a lot more consistent. So like, when you're in the moment every day with your phone going, what am I going to post? Not only is that when you get those, like, no offense, like the lower quality, like a photo of my latte at Starbucks photo, like those kind of posts, because they didn't have anything else to talk about and they were rushing through it. But it's also, it keeps you from being able to measure your 80-20. Because you're just in the moment posting whatever you can think of. So for what it's worth, using programs like Hootsuite or other, plan ahead schedulers are really important. And I recommend, if you can, pick 2 or 3 social media channels and try to stick to those and get consistency there before you claim them all and can't handle the bandwidth. So things like Hootsuite allow you to do that. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. And then we do have one question.
Yeah, please.
I want to know this question too, because I tend to use my personal page a lot. And so Tara Mitchner wants to know, what is your opinion on keeping your business and personal separate? For instance, I do not share as much business info on my personal page. I welcome your thoughts.
I have so many thoughts, Tara. So I have both. We have a business page for Piccolo Marketing, which is my company. And then I do a lot of public speaking and coaching and all those kind of things. So I have a separate brand, like separate pages on social for Anavia, right? You have to make the personal decision. However, there's a couple different ways to decide this. If you are somebody whose personality or person is your company, I highly recommend making that personal page open to people and letting them see things as you deem fit. So for example, if you're a real estate agent, right? Like you might have a Keller Williams real estate agency thing, but people connect with agents, real estate, insurance, wealth managers, like people like that on a personal level. So it's probably more important or as important for you to have a personal brand on social media as it is for you to have a business page. For me, I don't really have, this sounds like I don't have personal social media. All of the pages that are branded on Avia, I consider to be business pages because it just is. Like, I'm not putting anything out there that I wouldn't want someone to find. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to keep that. So if you want to have private pages where you connect with your family and friends, you share things that are maybe more personal or controversial, things that are religious based, political based, that kind of stuff. Make sure those things are on lockdown. Make sure they're not your actual name. Make sure that it's a different spelling or like all of the privacy filters are set up. But I think that if your personality or person has a large role to play in the salesmanship of your company, having both will allow you to develop a personal brand that boosts your business brand as you go.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the reasons why I do it is because of that. And then people they buy from people. They buy from,
right.
They want to know that your brand is relatable and approachable. And it's like a person. You have to kind of turn your brand into a person, because
right.
They're not buying from a business anymore. And
right.
that's a lot of these national companies, if you see, they now have like little series that they show, like little videos, and it'll be like this skit, and then follow for no. And you're like, oh, why is Reebok doing a skit about, this, a child that has absolutely nothing to do with tennis shoes, but it in the back of their head, they're subliminally selling to you. It has everything to do with tennis shoes.
Well, it's top of mind awareness. Exactly. And those are those value add things we talked about, right? Like, and again, if you want to see a juxtaposition, Tara, so Piccolo Marketing is my company. And then you can see how my name is spelled Anavia, but without the hyphen on social media. And like Instagram is a great example of a business versus a personal. So you could go look at those two and see, how do I have personal postings about the things I'm doing as a CEO and a community leader versus how is my business posting as an agency, right? And like, there's a difference in the message. Some of the shares are the same, right? So like when we release a podcast, we promote it on both channels, right? But like the messaging is a little tweaked or a little different. The voice is a little different, but then, all the other posts can be kind of separated. Yep.
Yeah.
I hope that was helpful.
Great question. Yeah. Thank you so much for this conversation. I enjoyed it. It just kind of flowed. Social media, as much as I'm on it because I have to be there. You know how I feel about social media. No, it's a necessary tool.
It is.
So thank you so much. And we're going to bring Charelle on the line. So
thanks, everybody.
I appreciate it. All right. So next up, we're going to bring Miss Charelle Lenz on the stage, and she's going to close us out tonight with helping us create a strategy with all of the information that we have learned tonight. She's going to talk to us about how to pull all that together and create a strategy that works for you. And so before I introduce her, I'm going to let y'all know what Charelle did for me. I had a session with Charelle back in, I believe, before Thanksgiving. And she had whiteboards everywhere, sticky notes everywhere. And we did this through Zoom. And she got to town and she helped me create a strategy for our launch of Hot Offers, and helped me design the Nodat VIP Beta Club. And so we have 40 small businesses in that club right now. We have 10 slots left for 10 businesses to join that club, and then we'll be full with the Beta Club. But Miss Charelle Lenz did that for us, and just so grateful. And we will continue to work with her. She's one of Nodat's trusted partners. And so just introducing Charelle Lenz, the founder and CEO of Vision Strategy Management. Vision Strategy Management is an award-winning organization that believes in building sustainable businesses and teams who succeed. Charelle is a 5-time award-winning author, strategist, and industrial engineer. She's worked with organizations to empower their workforce to achieve greater profitability. She has led industrial engineering for organizations, which include, but not limited to, management of supply metrics, cost savings initiatives, supply response development, activity management, product management, process development, and training. She has also worked with us, as I mentioned, on our marketing and strategy, and she's currently teaching a groundwork course at the Nashville Incubation Center for Small Businesses. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, that was a mouthful, Erica.
That's what I think of you. You are my sister. You are my sister indeed.
Thank you. And it's a framework course. Just want to make
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody that I talk to, for some reason, they call it groundwork. I'm telling you, and I think the reason they're bragging on this course that you're teaching, and they always say groundwork, and I think you're helping them build a foundation, because that's what they're thinking of.
That is exactly the intent of the course. Is to help them define the framework for their business so that they can succeed. Mm-hmm.
Well, you're doing definitely that. So now we want to talk with you about what is the best way that the small businesses who have participated in the keynotes and have also gone to some of the breakout sessions. They've written down their notes. And they know what they have to do now. What's the first step now to put all that information and decide what's right?
So first, I definitely want to say, thank you, Erica and Nodat, for putting this together. This has been phenomenal. I took a ton of notes from all of the speakers, and I've been jumping in between the keynote addresses as well as those that have been in the breakout sessions. Phenomenal information. So I hope that you all took notes. I hope that you take the time to actually go back and cultivate this, because a lot of it is what will feed into your strategy. Even Holly talking about data-driven metrics and how to actually cultivate that. Getting data and not doing anything with it doesn't really help you. So when it comes to strategy, when I talk about strategy, even to take it in the context of the lens of where we are, right? So let's just go ahead and call a spade a spade. I say that a lot. People who are in my class know that I say that, which just simply means let's call it for what it is, right? We are in the cusp of COVID. We've got, political changes. We've got a lot of all these external dynamics that are impeding stress upon organizations, and pressure creates the perfect opportunity for creativity. So we're in this space of creativity and being able to pivot and shift our organization so that we can truly be successful and truly succeed. So when I think about 2021 and when I think about, out years, one of the things that comes to mind, which every single speaker has said, is connectivity. We are seeking more and more nowadays to be connected, even though we're apart, we're separated by lenses, the ability to connect. So in the same respect, your customers want that empathy that creates engagement, that then leads to your ability to drive exclusivity, right? So what does all that mean? So the first thing when we talk about really stepping into strategy for this year is, one, start by clarifying your message. Cannot emphasize that enough. I think it was, is it Brad? That actually talked about really delving into the fact that right now, being able to clarify your message. Why did you even start the organization, right? If you're not clear on why the products that you have or why you believe in them, then no one else will. And even more so now, you have to have a clear message, a clear understanding of your product as well as your consumer base so that they can then delve into it. Once you're actually able to do that, I'm going to kind of walk you through 4 C's, right? Erica, slow me down if I'm going too fast.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. The second thing is you want to be committed to your vision. Know that businesses naturally incur cyclicality, meaning they go up and they go down. And in the space of COVID has done one of 2 things. It's either catapulted your vision and catapulted your business, or it has created a crippling effect on your business. So what's the difference between the 2? But when it talks to actually catapulting your organization, you want to make sure that you are capturing the wins and capturing the learnings. What are the things that are working well? What are the things that we have opportunities to? On the side of crippling it, it literally probably exposed the rocks, exposed the gaps, exposed the opportunities that you have. Lean into them as a way that you can continue to grow in this season. I think that COVID has done one thing, which I talk to a lot of businesses about, is business continuity planning. And you can Google that. That's just an industry term. A business continuity plan, it just simply says, in times of distress or in times that you have some risk to the business, how do you respond? How do you take, the situation and make the most of it so that you can still succeed? And if you have a strong foundation in your business, meaning you understand why, right? Then there's a layer of how you execute, and then there's the what. But if your why is strong, only thing you'll have to obviously change your tops. But when it comes to changing it, what that simply means is that you shift the way that you execute your product. You might not necessarily have to change the base of your business if you have set it up strong, but then you might just have to pivot in terms of how you execute. So we talked a lot about with organizations on, okay, the consumer hasn't changed, but the way that I reach them might have changed. COVID has also been extremely critical in really catapulting us into this digital age. So to that extent, what is your digital strategy? This whole conference has just been phenomenal in terms of connecting with your customer, knowing how to find them, being able to take a step back and say, okay, what's happened? How, we've got now 9 months in since COVID hit, right? 9-10 months, somewhere around there. So we've got some.
It hasn't been a year yet.
No. Coming close to it. I think 2 months, right? So 10 months.
Okay. Ooh, just like it.
I mean, officially in the US, right? I mean, yeah. It's definitely been out longer than that. But, point of the matter is just simply what, as you look at the data, as you look at the demands, where the trends are going, how has that impacted your organization? What are some of the wins and the losses and the gains or the risks or the puts or the takes that you have to take? And then I'll pause and then talk about the last 2 C's.
Okay. You can keep going. It was something that I was thinking about. You said consumers haven't changed, but how I connect with them has. Yes. And I think that I had to write that down because I'm going to tweet that out after this. Yeah. Consumers haven't changed. Yep. It's how we connect with them, and without making that change, and we keep just doing the same thing, it's just posting on social media. It's not gonna help. We have to change how we connect with them, and so that was powerful. So yeah, go.
Yeah, and the big thing is the exclusivity. Like, I want to feel. Anna talked about empathy, right? Empathy is so important because it's what connects us, and that story. She hit on a lot of, so I hope you guys took notes with all of the speakers, but definitely she talked on the fact that of telling the story. And we're in a space where we want more than before to really feel connected because we can't touch and feel each other as much as we used to. So in the same respect, when it comes to our products, how do we still create that same level of closeness while we're separated by screens? And being able to sit and think through, well, what is my strategy for my products, although, my products, my processes, or if I'm a service-oriented business, how do I still connect with my clients, connect with my consumers in such a way that they can still feel the emotion that we have. The last 2 is really around, like, when we talk about cadence, right? The cadence is, and again, Anna hit on this, the cadence and consistency. When you talk about cadence and consistency, it's literally, what am I doing and how am I doing it, and how frequently does my client require it, right? How many touches do I have to take? And Jenn talked about that it was 11 times, right, of someone seeing information before they're actually able to digest and process it and do something with it, right?
Wow. She said 11. I was like, whoa.
11, yeah. So it's not a one and done, right? Don't give up the first time that you don't get the results that you are expecting. Be consistent, be diligent, but also be comfortable and agile, especially during COVID, to make small tweaks along the way, because things are shifting. And as things are shifting, guess what? We have to continue to modify and be fluid, but the base, again, of the organization or the foundation of why should remain consistent regardless of the dynamics that are going on. And then the last thing is being able to cascade your vision. So how do you effectively build your bandwidth, right? So I know, we're talking about small and mid-sized organizations. So typically you might have just a couple teams. You've got people who are wearing multiple hats. You want to protect against burnout, right? You don't want to be in a space where you're trying to do so much on the front end and the back end that you have no bandwidth. So what are the critical things that are driving the most success for your business? Like, these are times where you cut the fat. Let's talk about what's really driving the results. Just because you have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just because you've got email marketing and phone does not mean that you should be on everything and expand your breadth, right? Time to go deep in some of the layers and levels that drive the most meaning and functionality for your organization. And then become extremely critical. You guys can't see my wall, but what are the expectations, the accountabilities, and clear ownerships for the business? Expectations. What do I expect out of this promotion or this activity? What is it intended to do, right? What am I holding my business accountable for the delivery of? And how do I own that brand message or that brand solution? And get really, really clear as to write that down so that that is a message that you can then permeate through your organization. So I don't know if those are just some of the small things. And I know this is a mouthful and a small bite. And so I've got 4 weeks where I'm actually going through all of these strategies for execution to win in 2021 in a couple of weeks here. So,
yeah, and I'm excited that you actually shared a PDF with us. It's on you can download both of her PDFs for the strategy execution and then also the challenge. The empowerment challenge is on the welcome stage and also in the expo, where you can get both of those PDFs. And then she also has an offer. Well, let me say this. So if you signed up for the beta club, took one of those 10 spots that was left, and you stayed to the end of the event, Nodat is actually going to pick 3 winners from the new beta club members and actually get them a strategy with Charelle, so that you can take the information that you learned tonight, so that you set yourself up to win in 2021. And you're not doing what she said. You're not on all these platforms wasting time and not focused on what expectations or what your goals are for a specific post. Every time you post something on social media, there should be some type of measurement behind that, and not just like, let me throw my worm out there and hope I catch a fish.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. And I'm glad you said that, because when we think about strategy, we think about this document that we do all this work, we bring all the team together, we, scribble on a board, and then it sits and we do nothing with it. That's not an effective strategy. Mm-hmm. A strategy is one that becomes a part of your execution plan. It becomes a part of the way that you do business, a part of the way that you measure success, and you have active communication with your key stakeholders, and you make adjustments. That's when you have a real strategy for your organization. And it's great to cascade and set long-term visions, which absolutely under normal conditions you should do, and you should still continue to have one. But again, as I kind of look in, and I do a lot of reading as a strategist, I look, I read on current trends, I read on where the market's going, what everything is doing, what all these things are, so that we can look at how does that now affect all these external things, affect or impede upon the buying habits or decisions that people are making. What are people feeling right now? How do I connect with the fact that, yes, what has been my success story through COVID? What has been that trial to triumph story? And how do I communicate that as a business in such a way that I show that I care, and that what I'm doing through my product or my business is an extension of the ability to care? Erica, I love the fact that you said, you embedded yourself into the culture and the fabric of Nodat. Mm-hmm. So as a part of that, people get to know you, and they want to know you, they want to connect with you, they want to connect with the human aspect. And oh, by the way, you have these amazing products that can then benefit them. In the same respect, we're human one-to-one, right? We want to make sure that we connect. And so when you think about your 2021 strategy, if I were to give you just 2 words to think about, it's connectivity. How do I connect while we are yet apart? How do I remain engaged? How do I remain with my clients feeling that I am exclusively here for them during this time, during this, season? And then 2, creativity. How do I utilize everything that is going on in such a way that I can spin it on its head, and because it's momentum and it's energy, and I can shift it to benefit the organization or benefit myself in such a way that we continue to excel and succeed. The businesses and organizations that will come out of this, which I see a lot of them, and thankfully I've only had one that we've had to close in the last year, out of the hundreds that we've helped. But the businesses that really succeed, the coming out of this, are clear in who they are and how they stand within their position. They are committed to their long-term vision and the success of the business. They're able to be consistent. They're able to cascade their vision. So I don't know. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. We're going to see, are there any questions in the chat?
I don't think I can see it.
Yeah, I don't think so. Let's see, are there any questions in the chat? Misha? We have 5 minutes left before Hoppin kicks us off the platform. I want to also remind everyone about the expo. Go and visit the expo section. There's a lot of good downloads there for you. Nodat is a trusted partner with Creative Market. And so we have 6 free digital assets downloads for you. You can also get 10% off of any digital asset. We're also partners with Ceasefire for small business, where you can get discounts for your IT, your telephone service, your internet service with Ceasefire. Vision Strategy Management is also one of our trusted partners. You get a discounted rate on a strategy session with Vision Strategy Management for being a Nodat small business customer. And then if you signed up for our beta group and took one of those spots, you could win a strategy with Charelle on behalf of Nodat, because we want to help you win in 2021. That's our goal. That's who we are. We're gonna reach out our hand to you and help you as best as we know how, and help you market beyond big social, help you take advantage of social media to make sure that you are getting true follower engagement and turning those followers into buyers, and then turning those buyers into advocates, because that's what you need. You need your community to help you market. In fact, Nodat is all about community marketing. It's all about community marketing. Small businesses need their community during this time to bounce back. And so, Charelle, thank you so much for gracing our stage tonight and the information that you dropped. I took a lot of notes: connectivity, clarifying, committed, cadence, and cascade.
That's right.
Yeah.
Eric, if I could say just one thing, if you guys like the empower and execution, which if you just go to charellelance.com and you can register on that. If you do it tonight, I'll just make sure that you're in there and that you can attend that for the 4 weeks as well. And in that, we delve into those concepts in more detail.
Yes, take advantage of that. It's on the expo. It's Aisha on both the welcome and the expo page, and then also on our website. So you can go to nodatplace.com, click on Vision Strategy Management, and then her information in the PDFs are there as well. I want to also thank the whole panel for being here tonight. We're very excited to have you, and thank you so much for all of the information that you dropped and shared with small business owners, and even myself. I'm a small business owner, and so I learned a lot tonight. I don't pretend to know everything. So I was here to learn as well, and y'all definitely helped me do that. I want to thank Tamisha Rutledge, founder and CEO of Inala, a B2B platform for brands and retailers to access vetted network of artisans who produce using ethical and sustainable processes. Misha is currently looking to connect with small brands and retailers, and you can connect with her on LinkedIn at Tamisha Rutledge or by email at hi@nala.io. I also want to thank Kathleen Francois, founder and CEO of Go TV, which is a multicultural streaming platform. She was gracious enough to give the viewers and the attendees tonight free streaming. So you can click on her expo click on her booth at the expo and sign up for free streaming on Go Network. And you can connect with Kathleen on LinkedIn at Go Network as well. And thanks to our graphics design and creative marketing intern, Tanya Crescencio, for being here and helping to man the chat. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. And here's to a blessed, beautiful marketing 2021 beyond Big Social. Have a good night.